Amen.
Fill me up, God. Fill me up, God. Fill me up, God. Fill me up. Fill me up, God. Fill me up, God. Fill me up, God. Fill me up. Fill me up, God. Fill us up, God. We're desperate for you, God. We want more, God. Pour it out, God. Pour it out, pour it out. Pour it out, God. We're done fighting, God. We lay it all down, God.
Well, welcome. I'm Steve Smith, executive pastor here at The Crossing, and I get the fun job of saying that, of saying welcome to everyone who's joining us here, everyone who's joining us online. I get the job of giving a special welcome, which is really fun always, to Reagan's friends from Doyle School, her principal, Kate. It's very fantastic. It's very nice. Thank you for coming, and I'm trying to do this without looking at any of my notes, so we'll see how well that works. Not so well right at the moment, and to Katrina Gunning, and not to be missed, her daughter Brooklyn. And soon we'll be joined as well by Dawn Zuka, we believe, and anyone else who's here from Reagan School. We just say thank you for coming and joining us. We're going to celebrate something pretty amazing tonight. So let me start with a question. What do you do when your 8-year-old says, "I need you to take me to the emergency room"? Well, that's how the story begins. And in our interview tonight, we're going to hear the rest of that story and how things turned from a pit of seeming despair to more than amazing hope, and the people that played a role in that journey. And we're going to celebrate that and give recognition of that. So that's the purpose of tonight. So before we begin the discussion, the talk, we have a short slide presentation that kind of chronicles the journey from the beginning through to the end. And while that's playing, so I invite you to watch that. While it's playing, in the background is being played the song Promises by Maverick City. This is a song you have to look at the words. I invite you to come listen to it sometime if you don't hear it well tonight or if you're not familiar with it. It was a sustaining song for Reagan's mom during this whole journey of faith and challenge.
promises. And time again, you have proven you'll do just what you say. Though the storms may come and the winds may blow, I'll remain steadfast and let my heart learn when you speak a word, it will come to pass. And great is your faithfulness to me. Great is your faithfulness to me. From the rising sun to the setting same, I will praise your name. Great is your faithfulness to me. Oh. God, from age to age, the earth may pass away, your word remains the same. Your history can prove there's nothing you can't do. You're faithful and true. Oh, though the storms may come and the winds may blow, I'll remain steadfast and let my heart learn when you speak a word, it will come to pass. Great is your faithfulness to me. Great is your faithfulness to me. From the rising sun to the setting same, I will praise your name. Great is your faithfulness to me. And I put my faith in Jesus, my anchor to the ground, my hope and firm foundation. He'll never let me down. And I put my faith in Jesus, my anchor to the ground, my hope and firm foundation. He'll never let me down.
And my wife, Esther.
Welcome tonight to everyone here and online. And welcome, Reagan, we're just so proud of you. We're so proud of you that you want to tell your story along with your mom, Sherry, and Vinny. It's an exciting time, and it's fun to be on this side of it, right? On this side of the journey. And, you know, it's an opportunity to give thanks, not just only to the people who made such a difference in their lives, but to God who intervened at the most crucial times.
Yeah.
So, Reagan, it's New Year's Eve, 2021, and then a few days later, you're with your dad, and then you ask him the weirdest question. You say, Dad, can I go to the ER? Why did you ask that question?
Well, I asked that question because then I was really sick and I didn't know what was going on. So I just wanted to go to the ER because I wanted to make sure everything was all right.
Yeah. Were you saying any prayers? Because I think you got kind of went to the hospital, and what was going on? What were you saying to Jesus at that moment?
Like, basically, I was in the bathroom and whatever, and I heard Mom talking to my dad, and she's like, I think, like, and then like, my dad was like, they think it might be cancer or whatever, and I was just kind of saying, like, I was kind of praying to God, saying, like, I hope it's not cancer.
Yeah, and that's along the way, right? But I think you got something like a nugget of truth in your heart. What do you remember? What that what you had told me before? You had said something about Jesus was going to just. You had said something about Jesus being with you.
Well, basically, half of the way through the chemo or whatever, I knew God was there with me. Once I started getting healthier and healthier, I knew God was there just helping me get better.
Yeah, that's really special. Yeah, I mean, that's really the greatest promise we can have, is that He's with us.
Well,
yeah,
Let's,
go ahead.
let's kind of take a step back from there and focus right on the beginning of the time. So, Sherry, I gave the little brief introduction, and now we've covered that suddenly this, but how do we get to that point where she was saying, I think I need to go to the emergency room?
Yeah, so Reagan had probably, before she got diagnosed, probably like 6 months before. Within that 6 months, she was feeling sick all the time. You know, she had a headache, she didn't want to go to school. She was just really like clumsy. She would trip over things and, you know, just, it didn't seem right. You know, we would go out for a bike ride and she would have to, you know, stop and sit on the curb. So we had taken her to the doctor, you know, and, you know, this is right, like, with COVID. So we thought maybe, maybe she has COVID, you know, so she got tested for COVID, and she was negative, and we were like, okay, you know, she's fine. Let's just continue on. So then she just kept being sick. And then the next time we took her, negative COVID. Oh, it's just viral, you know, and just all these, you know, things. It was just, there was no answer, you know. So, you know, I kind of thought also, like, you know, I have 4 kids, like, maybe I'm not paying enough attention to her, you know, like, so I just didn't know. I just thought, you know, it is what it is. So, so then that night that she stayed at her dad's, they called me and said, oh, she doesn't feel good, you know, she says she wants to go to the ER. So I said, okay, Reagan, like, are you sure you want to go to the ER, you know? Just thinking, like, this is nothing, but why would we go to the hospital for nothing, you know? So she was like, yes, I want to go to the hospital. And so I said, okay. And then he took her to the hospital, and I went to sleep. And that was like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. So I just was going to sleep. And because I thought, it's nothing. Like, they'll just tell me tomorrow that it's nothing, you know? So then I get this call at like 11 o'clock, and I'm like dead asleep. I hear the phone ring, and I sit up straight. And I wasn't married to Vinny at the time, so it was just, I was a single mom, you know? So I'm there alone. I get this call, and I sit up straight, and I I saw it was Tommy. I answered the phone, and I just knew, like, he didn't say anything, and I just knew. And so I started screaming, no, no, no. I'm just like, I get up out of bed, I jump out of bed, like, I'm, like, I don't even know, like, I don't even know what I was thinking, but I knew. And then I didn't even talk to him, really. I was just like, hang up. And then I, like, got my clothes on, like, got, like, a phone charger, and I was, like, leaped down the stairs. I don't know if I hit any stairs, but I leaped out. And then I got in the car, and I was at the hospital, you know? And I'll never forget, like right when I sat up, like, I knew God told me, like, this is what it is. And I was like, no, this can't be. So we got to the Doylestown Hospital, and, you know, they weren't saying anything. They weren't saying, you know, she has cancer or anything. They weren't saying she has, the only thing they told us is that her blood cells were abnormal. So they have to send us somewhere else to make sure. And so then they said, the doctor came in and said, okay, like, you know, I was just kind of like in shock at that point. And then they took me into the next room and said, you know, just, I'm gonna close the door, you do whatever you need to do. And I was on the floor, like I was in like a pit. All I remember is just being in this pit and screaming and yelling and like crying, and I don't even know. I don't even know how long I was in there, but I was just in there for a while, just crying. And so.
That's one of those, when I hear that, it makes me, I mean, it feels like that thing that gets you in the pit of your stomach, and it's this, wait, is this a dream? Am I going to wake up? I didn't want life to go this way. What's going to happen? All the terror, the horror, the uncertainty, the aloneness. So, where was God for you in that moment? How did you come through that first pit?
I mean, like I know that like my relationship with God was like the only thing that kept me like up, out, like, you know, and able to go back into the room with Reagan and not be crying. You know, I was crying, but not like screaming crying, you know. And I just knew. We went to CHOP, which is where they sent us, and they told us that she had leukemia. And I just remember, like, that morning, I didn't go to sleep, but then that morning I was on the phone with Pastor George, and I was crying, he was praying, we were crying, I was praying, like, but I knew, like, at that moment when I was talking to him, that, like, God was going to take care of us, and that we were going to, like, no matter what we had to go through at this point, like God was going to make sure that we had what we needed and that we were taken care of, and that Reagan was going to be okay.
And it may not have seemed like that some points along the way, but I understand you held on to that.
Mm.
All right, so you've gone to CHOP, you followed the ambulance there. I mean, we've gone through that. You've had these crises of being faced with what you never wanted to face. She has the diagnosis of leukemia. What did the doctors at CHOP say, you know, what did they say how they expected this was going to go?
Well, she has about B-cell acute lymphoblastic leukemia, if I said that right. So, and by her, like, age and her gender, she's really, this type of cancer should be really easy for all those things. So they said, like, I don't know, they gave us like a ratio, like 1 in 10.
I have to.
Wait, what?
So it should have been easy.
Yeah, it should have, not easy, but you know what I'm saying, like 1 in, yes. They said that like 1 in 10 or 1 in, I don't know, 11 or something, like, you know, don't make it. But that, you know, given all those factors, that she was, you know, going to be fine. And, you know, basically, like, you just have to start chemo, like, in 2 hours. So pick which chemo you want and let's go, you know? And it's like, I knew like I had to like get my answers from God, and that he had to, I really had to trust that he would have the answers of what to choose for her as we went along. And it was just me and her, so, you know, it was really just me making all these decisions. And
You can't even choose an insurance policy in 2 hours. And, you know, can you feel that, of making that decision? Well, which chemotherapy?
Mm-hmm.
And so where did that drive your heart? What were you feeling at this
I
point?
was so scared. I mean, I was just, it was like, am I going to make the wrong decision? And, you know, am I going to, is something going to happen to her and it's going to be my fault? I was just so scared, and, you know, I didn't know what to expect. You know, really, I didn't know much about cancer other than what you know, hear. So.
Yeah. How did the hospital and the staff kind of help you through that?
They were really good. Like CHOP has doctors on staff and child life and that kind of stuff that really come in and explain everything. They explain it to Reagan in a way that she can understand, and they were so good helping us through that beginning part, because that was really, really scary.
So what did you think, Reagan, when they said, okay, this is leukemia, which means cancer? What was your first response to that?
Well, my first question was, am I going to lose my hair?
You got it back, girl.
But then after that, after they said, yeah, I got really scared, and I didn't know what was going to happen. And then they didn't start chemo super fast, but they first gave me blood from someone else. So I was like, I've never done this before, so it's scary for me.
Yeah, yeah. I know your mom was with you 24 hours every day, right?
Yeah.
How did that feel, having your mom there all the time?
It felt good because she was just there to help me and stuff, so.
That's awesome. So then how did your church and your community, whether school or, Doylestown, how did that make a difference in your life?
Yeah, there were so many people that just really just jumped in and started helping us. Our school just sent emails out to, the families of the school. People helped us with food. We had foundations help us get things in place. My running team was amazing. They sent gift cards for the boys, and everybody just kind of, they didn't ask. They just did, things to help us. And it was just so amazing to see people just come together and really just love on us. And I really couldn't do much, and I couldn't even think of the kids at home. I was just in the hospital, so they would go and check on the boys, and my brother was at the house with them. They weren't alone, yeah, so, I mean, the community was amazing. The things that they did, they wrote letters to Reagan. They gave her gifts, things just poured in. Her room was topped. I mean, you couldn't even move. There were so many gifts, and it was really, it was the worst time of my life, and it was the hardest time of my life. But seeing what the community did, and what my church did, and what my running team did, it just really, it made it so much, it took a weight off my shoulders.
That's awesome. I know your first day in the hospital was your birthday.
I know.
Happy
Birthday.
What did that kick off, though? That kicked off something really special in your life during that very difficult time. So.
Oh my God.
Yeah, no, that's okay. So people started to visit you in the lobby.
Oh, yeah. So basically, my church, they, the first thing that they did was they sent over like clothes and everything that I needed that you don't think about putting in you don't even have a bag. You're just at the hospital all of a sudden. So, they brought all this stuff over that I needed, and that was so amazing. And then every single day, I'm not even kidding, every single day after that, 2 people from my church would come, and you couldn't come in, nobody could come in. I kept trying to get Pastor George in. I was like, you need to let him up here. They were like, no, absolutely not. But they could come down into the lobby. So, 2 people at a time would come every day, about midday. And it was kind of a time when I had a break with, any procedures or things like that with Reagan. And it was really neat because every time someone would come, it was like God knew which people to bring, because each group was, each 2 people were so different. Like, one person would just sit there and pray with me, and that's what I needed. Or one person would just sit there, and I didn't want to say anything, and they didn't say anything, and I was like, this is perfect. Like, let's just sit here. Let's sit here and not say a word, okay? And then, or like someone would come and they would talk about things in their life, and I just didn't want to talk about the hospital, and it was like the perfect day for that, so God really showed up big time with, providing what we needed.
Yeah, it's interesting, the touch, the personal appearance of a person there with you can make all the difference. That's what we are to each other. Yeah,
Yep.
we're there for each other. Yeah.
So I'm having fun following this story through. So Vinny, you pitched in as well. So you guys weren't married at this point in time, and the boys were home with your brother. But you jumped in, and what did this look like? For what were you feeling?
Oh, so I was feeling very powerless at this time. Like she said, nobody was allowed at the hospital. I wasn't allowed there, so I had to sit back and listen to her, cry, and I had to do it from the phone, and there was nothing I could do. And, God, I don't know what it is. Like, I guess God was preparing me this whole time for this moment. I just reacted. I just got everything together, and I just showed up for these kids, So it was me and her brother, and I knew she had to be at the hospital the whole time, like 24/7. So, so it just, I don't know. God just took over, and I just showed up and did the best I could. Like, I have 0 kids, so I have no idea what it's like to raise kids. So I just showed up and did what I could, and that was a great experience. But I don't know, like, yeah, I could just ramble on, but just really, it just really showed me like how God works. See God through everything that was happening, and I needed to stay confident and like really brave and strong. Like, on the inside, I was really nervous and scared that something might happen, but I couldn't I couldn't show that. I needed to stay strong for sharing, and that's what I did. And man, like, the miracles that just kept happening throughout this experience, like the community, the church, everyone showing up and pitching in, just like that. Like, it was just beautiful to watch, even during a dark time.
Wow. Yeah. So at this point in time, you've had this terrible diagnosis, but you've been given lots of hope. It's a really horrible time, but I think you had told us that the cancer moms had said everything's going to be fine, and the doctors were like, this is, we know how to do this one. This is the common one. It almost always turns out fine, but then things started not being fine.
Yeah, everything opposite of that happened. And she started on the chemo, and not even like a week into it, you could tell everything was just going downhill. She wasn't herself. First it started just like her mood started changing, and she started, being very, like, she's a happy girl. Like, she's never upset, never sad. Didn't smile at all. She didn't laugh. Like, I would talk to her, I'd want to play with her. She didn't want anything to do with that. She didn't want the TV on, anything. We got sent home for a week in between, and I knew she was like really sick. Like, she could barely do anything, but they sent her home. Luckily, Pastor George could come over and, anointed her with oil and everything. And then she just got worse. And so we went back to the hospital, and right when we got in there, she just, like, we were walking in, and she just fell on the ground. And from that point on, it just kept getting worse and worse. She couldn't move. She was basically bedridden. She, like, her legs, we would have to, like, switch the position of her legs because they were in one spot. She would say, "Mom, can you move my head?" And I would just turn it a little bit if she wanted it turned. She couldn't, like, get up to go to the bathroom or anything. She had a feeding tube. She couldn't eat. She had a stomach infection. She was just, like, everything was just, you could tell, like, she was dying. Like, her body was dying. Like, everything in her was dying. And she got to a point where, she said, and this was, a lot of the nurses were in the room, so she was just like, "Mom, I want to die." And I'm like, "No, you don't. You don't want to die. You're not going to die." And she's like, "No, I'm going to kill myself. I want to die." And then from that point on, we had to have a nurse, stay in the room with us and watch her, because she said that. But she could feel it, I could feel it, like, everything in the room was just, you could feel this, like, feeling of, like, death in the room. And it was so scary. I wasn't allowed to turn on the TV, or it would bother her, or, if I was I couldn't really be on the phone either. Like, she didn't want to hear my voice. She was like, "Can you not talk to me?" So, I would basically just, like, sit there, and it was really dark. It was a really dark, time, and I was really scared. And I remember, so in order to get things, I just kind of, like, walked somewhere in Philly, and then you'd walk back, and I just remember being outside and, like, saying to God, like, I am so far down in this pit, like, I can't even, like, see, like, a way out, but I do see you. Like, I could see God in my darkest pit. I couldn't see anything else, and when I thought about other things, like, I thought about, like, my parents, or, like, everything else, and I just didn't want to think about them. I didn't want to think about anything but Reagan, and I kept trying to be like, all right, I'm gonna call Vinny, or I'm gonna, and I'm like, no, I just am here with God. That's all I can do right now, and it was so scary.
So it wasn't supposed to go this way. It wasn't expected. That's, it's pretty bleak at that point, with the suicide watch on her not being able to move herself, your sense of it feels like death here. What was going on? What was behind all that?
So basically she had, like, when you start chemotherapy, you get all these different medications. So they kind of, start you with it, and then they see, does this one affect your body in this way? Or so the doctors have to figure out what is wrong. Like, so she can't walk, she can't eat. Her stomach hurts. Everything is just going downhill. So the doctors are just trying to figure out what is wrong. So she basically went in for a procedure, and they said, okay, she's going in for a procedure. The worst case scenario is she's going to end up in the PICU, but that never happens. No, don't worry about it, So, okay, so I go back to the room, an hour goes by, 2 hours goes by. I'm like, where's Reagan? And then they come in and they're like, she's in the PICU. And they start preparing me. Well, she might die, just so you know. And I just remember, the doctors were standing there, and she was gone, so the bed was gone, so the room was empty. And I thought she was going to die right then. But so I'm trying to get at, they figured out.
Well, first, I remember you telling us that this was not just that every time they did a procedure or that they said, well, here's the worst case scenario, but that doesn't happen. But then you were saying every time it was the worst case scenario
it was the worst case.
And now we end up in the pediatric ICU, and they're preparing you for her not making it.
Yes. And at that moment, I had actually that morning of that day, somebody in our church, I'm not sure who it was, but they'll probably know who it was when I say this. So they sent me an email, and they had the Bible story about when Jesus was going to save the girl who was, they said she was dead. And then Jesus said, "Arise, daughter. Arise, daughter." And I kept saying that, "Arise, daughter. Arise, daughter." And that, I just can't even, I can't believe that person sent that day. Because I got up to they finally let me in the PICU, and, she was barely, alive, but she was alive. And, so at that point, they're trying to figure out what is wrong, what is going on, So there's a nurse there that's with her, every second. The doctors are coming in, trying to figure out what's going on. And they, at that point, then we called the church. I had sent a message to either Esther or Pastor George or somebody about the situation, and then they said, "Can you join us on the Zoom call?" So we had this Zoom call with everybody in my church. I'm not kidding. Every single person in my church, they kept looking for the Zoom, and it was how many people
It kept
are on
going,
this Zoom
right?
call?
Yeah, it just kept going.
But so, Reagan couldn't talk, and I pretty much was just kind of absorbing what everyone was saying, and they were praying, and they were speaking, words, and telling us God's truth, and nurses were walking in and out, doctors were coming in. Everything just started to change, and the atmosphere just started to just get life in it. And a couple nurses would walk in and be like, "Ooh, yes," if someone was praying, and they'd be like, yeah, and I'd be like, and it was just, the things that my church was speaking over Reagan, speaking to her body, speaking to, me, speaking to our fears, speaking to, just what God is going to do for us and what he's doing for us. And at that point on, it was that was it. That was it.
Yeah.
So I remember those Zoom calls. I think anyone was on the Zoom calls, you'll never forget them, right? Because you never saw so many, it was screens, so many people. And each one just praying with this passion and conviction, with the truth and the love of Jesus coming out and speaking, and just speaking the scripture and speaking. It was so filled with faith, and it truly was amazing. You felt everything. You felt everything change.
Yep.
Yeah, so then you have to go through the night
What happened next?
It just, that, at that point in time, that unlocked everything. And the doctors just, it was like answers and answers and answers. Like her port was infected, she has an infection, here's the medicine for it. Here's, she's taking vincristine, that's the chemo drug. We can't have her on that anymore because now she can't walk. It was just all these things just started to happen. And she, like, even before that, she couldn't walk it, but they would send like a PT in to like tell her to get up, and like she would just see the lady at the door and start crying. But
what were you thinking, Reagan?
At that time, I was just like, I don't want to do this. I just want to sit in bed. I don't like this.
Yeah. Well, they told you weren't going to walk. What did you think about that?
Then I was like, I was sometimes believing it, but then, like one day God was like, no, you're not gonna just sit there in bed, you're gonna walk.
Hallelujah. Woo! That's the best news. That's so cool. Isn't it awesome that Jesus talks to us and puts those encouragements in our hearts? And I think that's for all of us. It's not just for you or your mom or Vinny, right?
Yeah. And I just remember one night in the PICU, like the doctors were saying, like, get ready because she's not going to make it through the night. And then, like, that night I woke up.
Right? Unexpected. Yeah. They were surprised. They said it was a miracle, right? Yeah. And I think it was a little complicated because when they took that port out, they discovered blood clots.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really another issue that they didn't know about.
Yeah, and the port is, it gets put in like right here. It's, connected to like a vein that's in your heart. That's why it has to go there. So the chemo goes right there. But right next to the port was these two really large blood clots, and the port was infected. It was so bad that when they took it out, they had to leave it open because they couldn't close it because the infection was so bad. And if they didn't get it out, who knows? So.
Yeah, and at that moment, we're all praying, we come together, she makes it through the night. I mean, that was the best morning I can remember, right?
Yeah,
It's
the timing of that, right, that the doctors said it's a miracle, that you knew something had happened, and then that everything, and it's just this intervention that they start seeing the solutions to where before it was just, we don't know. And the solutions just stacked up. Even though there was more challenges, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of the stuff, you could say, oh, it was just, this happened or that happened. But from what I saw in that hospital room, it was like, this is from God. This happened because of what we did in that hospital room, about that Zoom call, about God, calling God into this, and really just the whole community just being there. And it was just, I know, like, this is what God did. He did a miracle.
Yeah. Yay, God. Yay, God. So, Vinny, you're still on the sidelines here, having the tough job of trying to do something from afar. What was going on in your heart and head during this period?
Like I said before, like I was just, there wasn't a doubt in my mind. Like I just had this unwaveringly, I can't even say the word, unwavering faith, right? So all the things that were going on, and like she was saying, like I just had this, like, I don't know, I knew everything was gonna be okay, I just knew it from, like, in the bottom of my heart that everything was gonna be okay. Reagan was gonna be okay. When they said she would never walk again, I didn't entertain that thought one bit. I said, that's not true. She will be walking. you know, we just don't know when, but she will be walking, and now she's walking. You know, she's doing all these amazing things, you know, after having to relearn how to do everything. Like, that's wow. Wow. You know?
That is a wow. So that was the next problem, right? What I remember hearing was that there were statements like, she may never walk. She may not walk for years. She may never walk again. And yeah, I love hearing, Reagan, what you had to say about that. And I noticed that you are walking. So something happened that was different than the prognosis. What?
Well, it was basically like I said, God said to me, Reagan, don't listen to the doctors. You are going to walk. You are going to be able to run and walk and do whatever you want again. And because those doctors don't know what they're thinking right now.
That's a smart cookie there.
And then, like, a few days later, I just start walking again. And
It was dramatic, right?
yeah.
It was not possible.
Yep.
What was your impression, Sherry?
Yeah, so, the doctors just kept saying, like, you know, we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. Like, we don't know if she's ever going to walk again. We don't know if she's going to not walk for 2 years and then be able to walk. We have no idea, but right now she can't walk. You know, they were we got put into a rehab inside of the hospital, an inpatient rehab. We were in there for like a good 3 months, I think. They just would do things with her every day. They would just, you know, she would just had her wheelchair, she had her walker, she was never allowed to like get up alone.
I'm going to interrupt.
Yes.
Something really special happened before you went to that PT and OT.
Yes.
You contacted Pastor Amy.
Yes. Well, this was during the rehab. This was
Okay.
at the rehab.
Okay.
So we were at the rehab, and, you know, a lot of the pastors, you know, were praying for us, but me and Pastor Amy were praying about, you know, Reagan's walking. And so specifically for that, and, you know, I was saying to her, you know, this is what the doctors are saying, like, she's probably not going to walk. And, you know, I knew she would walk. I didn't know when. And, you know, Pastor Amy was just like, you know, nope, she's going to walk. No, don't even listen to that. She's going to walk. Like, stop it now, you know? And I'm like, okay, sure. Okay. So then, like, we finished praying and then hung up the phone. So then the next morning I wake up, and so Reagan was probably, like, doing a session with her PT. And then she comes back, and she's in the front, and, you know, they have, like, a belt around her, and she's holding on to the walker. And then she's like, Mom, look. And then she takes the walker to the side and walks to the bed.
Wow. Whoa. What were you thinking, Reagan?
I just knew at that moment the doctors were wrong, and like basically they were saying like, oh, she's not gonna live, she's not gonna walk again, but like all opposite of that happened. Like I lived and I started walking again, and they just didn't know.
Yeah, I remember the morning when we were on the phone with you, and you said she's walking. Look, and she got up out of the bed and walked over to you.
It was so amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
It was honestly like it was like a different cry. You know, it was like joy. It was like, you know, I was crying before for this, and now I'm crying because every day is like something new and something amazing and something miraculous that wasn't ever supposed to happen, you know?
Yeah.
I didn't know if I would take my daughter home. I didn't know what was going to happen to her, you know? And to just see her, like, coming back to life was just amazing.
So what was the whole period that you were in the hospital with her?
I'm thinking probably like 4 months. 4 months we were in there. Maybe longer.
It felt longer.
Oh,
Yeah,
it felt
it
longer.
felt
It felt
longer, yeah.
longer. It felt real
Yeah.
long.
So, did you know about miracles before this, Vinny? I mean, was this kind of like a surprise? Though you knew in your gut that, yeah, something's good will come out of this. But had you experienced anything like this before?
I have, yeah. Like, so, like, I've experienced the miracles happen in my life. Like, you know, I was lost for many years and like trapped in addiction, and he pulled me out. Like, and at this point, I had no faith. I had nothing. Like, I didn't believe in God. But at some point, I got to this point of surrender and embarked on this journey that led me to the Lord, and then it led me to Sherry, and then it just led me to this church. And there's no denying that it was God. You know, God led me all the way here and introduced me to all of y'all and to witness this miracle, you know. Because if I was in her shoes, I don't know if I'd be as brave or as strong, you know. Yeah. So, amen.
Yeah. I'm so glad you shared that part of the story. It's so fun to get to know you guys better and better. And I'm just struck by, you know, there's a big difference between hopeful statements and statements of faith. They just have different outcomes too, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah. So something was moving here where God was just stirring faith everywhere because he wanted to do something wonderful. Well, listen, then something else happened, right? So Haley Johnson visited you at the hospital.
Yeah.
And what was that about?
Well, I mean, she was like one of the first, I think, the first person
Yeah.
to come see me or whatever.
And
But
then
that
she did something very radical, like she's kind of crazy girl.
She started a GoFundMe for me, which, you know, at the time, it was like, you know, working and paying everything by myself to, oops, I'm not working anymore, you know? So that was huge. And then there was so many people that helped with money and food. We had one of the foundations set up a food meal, and the school just pitched in, the whole school. They made meals for the boys 3 times a week. There was like a baseball team who helped us, you know, with money and bills, and it's just been really amazing. I've never had to ask for anything, you know, and yeah, it can be a lot taking care of 4 big kids, you know? So they never had to worry about food and, you know, a place to sleep, and it was really nice.
So I know your school was really important in this whole journey. What did your principal, Reagan, and your teacher, do you remember any of the little things that they were doing along the way?
I remember they would, like, once I started getting better, they would, my teacher, Mrs. Gunning, would FaceTime me in the whole class, and, like, I got to say hi to everyone, and that was just nice, so.
And those were like the times where, you know, she was going through so much, but she would get excited. Mom, we have to be back from PT by 1 o'clock. That's when it's gonna, you know, and she would come in and be like, okay, are we ready? You know?
So it was a glimmer of hope. It was like a really special thing for your day, right?
Yeah, because, like, PT was so much in OT, like, so that when I got back from that, I was just so excited just to say hi to everyone.
Did you get any notes from them?
I got a lot of notes. There's like a whole bag of them at home.
She read every single one. She sat down when she got home and read every one.
And it's like from the whole school. They all sent me letters and gifts.
Every grade. Every grade they would send, like, you know, a letter.
It's really something.
Yep.
Really impressive.
What did you think, Vinny, as you're getting meals brought to the house, as you're trying to take care of
Stop.
things and there's meals?
That is true. I'm not used to it, so I didn't know how to accept the help. You know, I felt like in the beginning, like, oh, we can handle this. Me and Trey can handle this. And as the meals kept coming in, it was just like, oh Lord, like, this is wow. Like, it was definitely a blessing to have that. You know, coming from work, like I work in New Jersey, so driving back and forth, you know, it's an hour and a half to and from, so that's 3 hours worth of driving, and there's just not that much time to get home and start cooking, and like especially because I don't know what they like to eat, you know. So, and I don't really cook, you know. So I like, you know, I had to learn all these things like on the fly, and to have such a community like bless us with all these meals, you know, it was really great to have, you know, just a burden lifted off, and you know, just wow, it was just yeah. I don't have any more words. So.
Not having enough words seems to me like a good response for what I've heard about what the school did in all these different things. Pretty amazing. It's one of the reasons that we're celebrating their amazing effort on this tonight as well. So, Reagan, where are you in treatment now?
I'm in remission now, and I don't have to go inpatient
Yay.
anymore.
Okay. You got applauded out of the last part of you, so you have to repeat the second sentence.
And now I just take pills, and it's so much more easier than having to go like an hour away to go to the hospital and stuff. So.
And she has hair.
And I hear you've done some cool things. What are some of the things you've been up to lately?
I've been riding my bike. I've been horseback riding. I've been swimming. I've been going to school.
That's a big deal. Yeah, that's fun.
Oh, we've been going to baseball games.
Oh, do you like baseball?
I mean, not like,
I think your brothers do, though, right?
yeah, they do. But I'm not like a big fan of baseball, but I go because
They have nice snacks at least, right?
and like the foundation pays for it, so I go anyway.
The first slide was a welcome, and here she is in that beautiful gown, and she's welcoming you all. And that was part of a foundation, right? That did that for her.
Foundation took those pictures.
Yeah, and she just looks like a little princess. Yeah, that's special. Yeah. So Sherry and Vinny, if you could speak to someone who's going through a life and death situation, what would you say to them?
I mean, you know, I understand how someone could feel like really alone and really lost and really scared during that time, but just to really like hold on to God. And I mean, it may be hard to see anything else, you know, but God will never, ever, ever, ever leave you. Even in that dark pit, He will never leave you. He will provide for you. He will take care of you. I mean, you don't even have to say a word. He knows what's in your heart. He knows what you need. He knows what your family needs. And He will be there for you during those times. So just that, you know, hold on and just hold on to God.
Vinny, any thoughts?
I was just leaving that up to her. But no, yeah. So it's through our experiences, we're able to give strength and hope to anyone who goes through this situation. So like to just pray to God, to reach your hands out, you know, and just really, really hold on to God. Like God is amazing, like comforting. Like I didn't you know, I didn't expect the comfort that I felt, you know, and like, man, you know, if there ever happens to be that opportunity where we can share our experiences with someone else who's going through that, like, that would just, you know, that's why we do these things. When we go through these things, we have to share with other people who are going through them too, to give them the hope and the strength to get through it. And Lord, like,
And also, and also that God is a God of miracles. And he will, no matter how small or how big your miracle is or that you need, he will provide a miracle for you. And he said what he does, what he says he does. What he says is what he does. So that you can guarantee.
And I know in your own life, you know, it wasn't always an easy journey for you personally. But I know you told me something that's very interesting, that every part of your life was kind of a build-up to prepare you even for this difficult time.
Yeah, so like even just coming from, you know, a really lost, a really hopeless life, and then I found God, and I was like, I just kind of ran after him, but things were still really hard for a long time. And years of, you know, meeting with my mentor and, you know, learning how to live differently, you know, because I was living in the world, and then I had to live by the way God wanted me to live, and just learning what he wanted, or how to pray, or how to, you know, fellowship, and just how to do all those things. And then God led me to school here at the Crossing, and so I got my associate's degree, and I still was just like, okay, like I'm just going where God's leading me. He's teaching me things, you know, I'm reading the Bible, I'm learning different things about God, and it was like every single thing that I've done on my journey, you know, now I'm in school, I'm almost done with my bachelor's degree in theology, and like every little thing was used during this time. Like nothing was, you know, it was all for a reason. And, you know, obviously I'm going to do more things with it. But it's crazy how all that stuff prepared me for something this big in my life, you know, to really just be there and pray with Reagan and know what to say and what to do and what to ask God, and, you know, how to be during this time and how to trust him.
Yeah, that's awesome. And just tell us very briefly, so then in between all this, you guys decide to do something kind of crazy. What did you do and when?
Oh, yeah.
When did that happen?
Yeah, we decided that we were going to get married and we were going to move into this new house. And, you know, just a whole lot of, like, you got dark times and then you got these happy times. We're moving out, like we're moving into this big home. We're getting married. But Reagan's not doing so well at this time, but we had already started getting the ball rolling. So it was like mixed emotions, highs and lows, and then to have her be able to, you know, all those gifts that were coming in, we needed a bigger room, we needed a bigger house. So, and her new room is full, like full, and we had nowhere to put it. And so when she came home, there was stuffed animals everywhere, you know, notes, drawings, everything. So, you know, she came home to a nice little surprise there.
And now you're anticipating another gift.
Yes, we're another gift, another joy, another miracle. We're having a boy, you know. It's been one of those years.
It's good that we can kind of cry with you and laugh with you. That's so
Yeah.
healthy. Yeah. I want to transition then, because, I mean, we could spend the whole rest of the night, because there were really so many instances where God just kept showing up and people kept showing up. And he was using you and me and you to bless them and to be there for them. And we can't undertell, I don't know, how important it is for us to be on the lookout for how we can be hands and feet that love others. It's the person receiving it understands that. You don't. You think, well, like Haley, well, I started this fund. Well, actually, that paid the rent, the food, the gas. It took care of a whole family. So, little things like that we think, yeah, I just played a tiny part. But you add up all those tiny parts, and then you're just like, wow, this family really came through because God's interference and our interference.
Right. It's a story of to me of crisis, of faith, prayer, a lot of kindness. I just think of we haven't talked specifically about the things, but we've alluded to it with Kate Fantasky and Katrina Gunning, and how they orchestrated all of these, and who I don't know if she is here, but
Is Dawn?
but Dawn Zuka as well, how they orchestrated these meals, these gifts, the connection that stayed going, all of those notes, that every one of those things continued to breathe hope and life when it was really needed. And that took an amazing amount of effort. It took an incredible amount of thoughtfulness. It would have been very easy to overlook somebody who was no longer there and, keep them in your thoughts. But you guys did so much more than that.
Yeah, and with that, we want to transition into our time of recognition and awards. So I'm going to ask if the family actually could join us over here. And we just have some fun little remembrances for you all. And I think Dawn is not here. Is that correct? Is Dawn not here? There. Oh, where are you? Dawn! All right. Oh, I'm so happy you're here. Welcome. Nice to meet you. I'm Esther. So, Reagan, we're gonna have some fun now, right? Okay, Mom, I'm gonna let you kind of take over right now, because I want you to just share specifically to each individual.
Okay. So Reagan's school was like a really big part of, Reagan getting better and feeling good, and just just like everything that I could ever ask for, her school did for her and for us. But the principal, Mrs. Fantasky, she was so amazing. She just, basically let us know, whatever you need, I'll do whatever you need, and, let the parents know, let the kids know about Reagan, and just little things like how the kids would handle Reagan coming back to school, or the way that they would see Reagan when she came back. Maybe she wouldn't look the same, or, just the way that they just handled the whole thing, and, with our family, with getting the meals out, the emails to the families and all that stuff. So thank you so much. We can't thank you enough for everything you've done for us. So please come up. Thank you so much.
As a school principal, one of the most devastating pieces of news you can receive is that one of your students is very sick and may not be able to make it. And right away you go into that mode of boots on the ground, what can we do to help? And we are so blessed at Doyle to have a phenomenal community that was there and continues to be there. And really, you are all part of that. And this miracle, I often say, cancer has touched so many of our lives. And my sister used to tell me, cancer brings gifts, you just need to find them. And listening to your story and reliving it again, Reagan, tonight is just, again, those miracles and those gifts, the gifts of community, the gifts of faith, the gifts of family, that really, really is what it's all about. And so, what a blessing you all are to all of us. And we're so glad that we could do anything that we could for you to help you and your family get through this. So, thank you.
So Mrs. Gunning, if you know anything about me, I'm not very good with the kids, teachers are going to back to school night, so pretty much none of the teachers know me. So so it was I didn't even know Mrs. Gunning, she was just Reagan's teacher. Reagan loved her, but I don't think we met before. And so it was like you were family. You just, we started connecting, and you were there for me, you were there for Reagan, and you just really touched my life so much. I really did feel like you were my family. You were on the phone with me every day, sending pictures, organizing things, you have the biggest heart. I can't even think of a better teacher than you. I never had a better teacher than you. I wish you were my teacher. So, yeah, thank you for everything you've done, and just can't thank you enough. So please come up.
Oh my gosh, I don't even know what to say. I love you guys too, like family. My whole family knows your whole entire story. It would just be daily updates, how's Reagan today? Did you talk to Sherry today? What's going on? I think it was hard for Brooklyn to see the pictures again because she really lived through that all last year. I would show her every day, every picture, and she would jump in when I would FaceTime her at home. She would also jump into the screen and want to see what was going on. I had to prep her at times. I'd be like, okay, Reagan's hair is cut, Reagan's hair is orange, Reagan's hair is gone, So we kind of had to talk through all of this, with my little girl. And I have boys too who also love you, but they're sports. I know you get that. Truly, I just feel blessed that I was part of this journey with you guys. I didn't even really give Sherry a chance not to get to know me because I texted her or called her every day. And I was like, if you don't want to answer, you don't have to, but I will be calling you or texting you every day. So I just really, it was so hard because when she was gone, we saw her desk empty. So we never stopped thinking about you every day because your desk was there. We never touched it. We left every single book in there. And then another parent got another organization involved, Monkey in My Chair, so that eventually we had a little monkey in the chair so we could realize, okay, this is Reagan, so we called her Faith. That was the monkey's name. And then Reagan had a little monkey too, so that you knew we were all connected. So it was tough, but thank God for Mrs. Fantasky and just all the Doyle community to help us all get through it. Obviously, I've never been through anything like that. You thought it was hard enough teaching in a pandemic, and then all of a sudden, you get this devastating news. So it was a lot, and I have two of my kiddos that lived through it, in the Gunning Gang here today, which is, they really were awesome to help us all get through that, right, girls? Yeah. But we loved you every moment, and we just never, ever forgot about you, and I hope you always felt that. To me, that was the most important thing, that Reagan and Sherry and Vinny and the boys knew that like we were always with her, even if we couldn't physically be together. So that was like the book we read, also The Invisible String, so we always felt connected together. But I don't even know. There's just so many thoughts I have, but I'm just so blessed that you're part of my life, and I'm happy you still come to visit me every day, now that you're in 5th grade. And I've stopped texting Sherry every day now. Now it's like maybe once or twice a month, so. But thank you all so much.
So the next person is Dawn. So, you know, right when your child gets diagnosed, it's like, it's really scary, and, you know, you really don't know what's going on, you know? And the cool thing is that a lot of the parents and a lot of the foundations like that, you know, work with cancer, or they had a child with cancer, they just start calling you and, you know, telling you what to do and where to, you know, all this stuff that you have no idea what you're doing. But so Dawn was, I'm pretty sure, the first person that called me, or we contacted somehow. And she just like went into action, and she was just like, okay, we're gonna do this, we're gonna get like a, you know, a cooler, and it's going to go in your front yard, and then you're going to have this on your mailbox, and like, I'm going to contact the principal, and we're going to get all these people to bring you food, and, you know, it's going to be for like forever, because you're going to be in here forever. So, you know, and it was just like, I just could feel like the love of like somebody who experienced the same thing. And you know, it kind of like showed me how I want to be to other people who, you know, are going through this or just get diagnosed, or, you know, it was just, it really helped us. And so thank you so much, and please come up. Thank you for everything.
You're so welcome. So, on Christmas Eve day of 2003, my 10-month-old son was diagnosed with cancer with a 0% chance of survival. And God is so good, and he's been in the miracle business for as far back as you could ever look. And yesterday I spent the day in Nashville because my son is in college. And he had a lot of dirty laundry. So, my husband flew me down to clean and do wash because he's an amputee and that's hard for him. But one thing I can say is it's such a pleasure to talk to a new mom and to let them know what they need, because they don't know. And if you meet somebody and they have a struggle, do not wait for them to ask for help. You know, we're all human beings. You know children need to be fed, and you know bills need to be paid. And so just reach out and just love one another. Yeah. And please give blood, because these children need so much blood. And God has made us in an amazing and wonderful way. And you can take that blood out of your arm and you can put it in Reagan's and you can save her life. And he did all that for a reason. So let's not disappoint him, and let's step up and do what we can.
Yeah.
So.
Love it. Thank you.
And just so you know, there's a little handwritten note on the back of your frames from Reagan.
Okay, so the last award goes to my church because my church is so awesome and amazing, and was there for us, and like they just stepped up, and even before this, I don't know where I'd be without my church. I mean, the things that I've learned here and the things I've learned about God, and the knowledge that I've learned, you know, and all the little things going through this journey that they, you know, someone would call and say, hey, I really think you need to pray over Reagan's legs today, you know, or, you know, they'd know what was going on, you know, God would tell them. So they would call, and, you know, everything they did was just so amazing. But we're going to give the award to Pastor Amy, so please come up.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We do have the most amazing church body. I could not believe how many people were on those Zoom calls for 4 hours, how many nights in a row. And then that day that Sherry said, well, the first day when you said, I'm not okay with this. I don't think she's going to make it, and I'm not okay. And this church just stepped right up, and I've never seen anything like it. And we could feel the difference. And then remember the time you kept the Zoom call alive in your room and the whole floor felt peace?
Yep.
Yeah, that was so cool. And then the day that you said, oh, she's not going to walk for 2 more years. I was just looking at it in my text messages. Oh, yeah, the doctor says she's not walking for 2 years at least. And we prayed that day. And the next day she's like, look at this. She's walking. So, hallelujah. Thank you for being you. I'm so blessed. I don't deserve these, but I'm so blessed to be part of you. And I want to say to you, my little princess, oh, I have that bag right there. Thank you. I just want to say to you, my little princess, that eye has not seen, and ear has not heard, and it isn't even written in your heart, the amazing things that God is going to do in your family. There's a Bible verse in Isaiah 8 that says, my family and me, we are for signs and wonders. You are for signs and wonders. It's not just to live to be 9 or 10. You have a destiny in front of you, healing and walking with Jesus in a way that most people do not get to know. So when people say, count it all joy, when you meet various trials, it's because they get to know Jesus in a whole new way. So this is for you, you little princess. God told a wonderful woman in this church to buy it for you, and she didn't know it was you when she bought it. So here it is. You can open it up. It's yours. Because we're just so proud of you and so happy to be part of your life and so happy that you're part of our life. Thank you for being our family. Hold it up. It's so cute. God's little princess.
Yep.
Somebody, this beautiful, unnamed, amazing woman walked past and God said, buy it. And she didn't know who it was for. And here it is.
Aww, I love it.
Love it.
Thank you.
Well, thank you all. What an amazing story. What an amazing opportunity to be able to celebrate one of our church families who's gone through crisis and seen the resurrection power of Jesus at work. What an amazing thing to be able to celebrate a community like the school community who went so far above and beyond, and they just set an example for what it's supposed to look like. What an amazing thing to celebrate you all, a church community who stepped in and went where it was needed, prayed and paid as well to make things happen for the family. And what an amazing opportunity to celebrate you, Father God in heaven. You are amazing beyond description. And all of this is done to say, we think you're fantastic. We honor you. We bless you. We invite you, Father, do more. There's so much more to be done. You know it. You talked about fields ripe to harvest, and it's not just it's sickness, but it's also people that are lost, like Vinny was talking about, that need to be rescued. It's people who need to be rescued in so many places, and that's your business, God. And here we are as your body. We want to do more of it, and we want to see more of it, and we want to be in here celebrating more of it, all for your glory. We honor you and love you. Amen.
Amen.
Well, as I wrap this up, I want to thank my wife, Esther, for all the effort in putting this together so it could happen. And to thank all the people you know who you are, who have worked to make this night happen as well. Thank you so much. And listen, if you're here, if you're online, and you want to hear more stories, because these things about miracles, the impossible happening, they're happening today. And so tomorrow, we actually start a conference here called Lifestyles of Miracles that is going to be showcased by somebody who has had their body turned around miraculously and inexplainably by the grace and mercy of God. And the whole conference is going to be about what's God doing and how do we enter into it in partnership with him. And likewise, as a church, we just believe this. And you can join us any weekend, 5 p.m. on Saturdays, 10 a.m. on Sundays, and get to know this amazing good God better and see what he can do to rescue your life, to bring it to where he wants it to be. Amen?
Amen.
Well, the Lord bless you and keep you, and may you know how his face shines on you. The Lord give you peace. Amen. And good night.